Dustin Poirier came in with a clutch KO against Benoit Saint-Denis. And I, for one, did not think that this was going to happen. I thought for sure we were going to see Benoit Saint-Denis basically, like, I thought it was going to be a banger of a fight, but I thought we were going to see Benoit Saint-Denis do exactly what he did in that first round, which is, put on a ridiculously crazy pace, keep coming forward, walk through fire to try to get the win against Dustin Poirier. And he basically won that first round and the first half of the second round until he got clipped by Poirier. But this just proves that the Diamond is so good, that he is legendary. Everybody thought this was a crazy bad matchup for him, and I think we'd all be having a very different conversation if it hadn't gone his way, right? I think we'd all be saying, oh, he's washed, he should retire, maybe one more fun fight and then hang up the gloves, that type of thing. But now we're having the conversation of, what does Poirier do next? Where does he go from here? Because this win definitely puts him back in the conversation on whether or not he should fight for a title, but there is a long line right now of who should fight for the title next. We've got Charles Olivera versus Arman Tsarukyan. Dana is insistent that whoever wins this one is fighting Islam Makhachev next. Islam Makhachev has said he wants the winner of Gaethje versus Max Holloway. And then you have Dustin Poirier, who is now free, who is now back in the conversation of whether or not he should fight for a title. Now, frankly, because Islam hasn't been super busy, I think you could do Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier. I think you could make that fight. Because best case scenario, both of those other two guys are fighting on the UFC 300 card, so they're not going to be ready to fight again in at least 3 months. Right? So maybe you could do something, it's kind of tight schedule, right? But maybe you could do something, UFC Brazil, International Fight Week, something like that, and then you have those guys fight, like either Tsarukyan or Charles Olivera or Gaethje or Holloway fighting Islam Makhachev sometime later on in the year, September, October, that type of thing. I think it was announced that they're doing the Abu Dhabi card sometime in August, right? So you do something of that nature. That's what I'd be looking at, right? But then the question is, does Poirier even want to fight for a title? One thing I'd love to see Poirier do before he retires is have that trilogy fight with Gaethje. They're one apiece, and it was a really exciting fight when it happened. So if we could get another situation where, Poirier gets in there with Justin Gaethje and they fight out a trilogy, that'd be fantastic. Maybe for the BMF if Gaethje kind of defends it against Poirier, that'd be pretty sweet. But then the other thing is that I'm just kind of thinking about is this didn't really go according to what I think the UFC's plan was. I think the stock for Benoit Saint-Denis still went up in spite of him losing to Poirier. Like, Poirier is just that good, right? And now more people know his name. Poirier is one of the more famous guys in the UFC for sure. But I think what they were hoping to do here was to have Benoit Saint-Denis beat Dustin Poirier so that they could build up that French market a little bit more, build up the superstars of tomorrow, right? And, I think Benoit Saint-Denis' stock has still gone up a little bit from what he did there, but I don't think it's as high as it could have been. So now the question is, what do they do with Benoit Saint-Denis next, right? And I think the answer is you have him fight someone lower in the rankings, right? You have him fight maybe a Jalen Turner. Maybe you have him fight Fiziev. We just saw Gamrot beat RDA, and so maybe you have him go up against Gamrot, something like that, to try to build him back up. The guy's only like 28 years old, so he certainly has time to build himself back up and to get himself in a position where he can fight for a title, right? But it's just going to be a little bit harder because he got KO'd by Poirier. And the KO was actually surprising too, right? Because he didn't go down. The worst he's been beaten was that first fight he ever did in the UFC, and the guy just didn't go down, right? He didn't get KO'd despite the beating being put on him. And so my question is, and I always have this question, will this affect his chin? Will this affect his ability to take shots in the future? And I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, but yeah, that was a really great shot by Poirier to come out on top here. He certainly proved me wrong. I thought for sure that Benoit Saint-Denis, just because of his youthfulness, Poirier is now 35, sort of that killer mentality that he has, I thought he was definitely going to win. But yeah, man, like Poirier fought through a lot of adversity and he got that KO, and it was absolutely spectacular. Like and by the way, like I was rooting for Poirier. I just didn't think he was going to win. So that's just, that's just what I think. So what do you do next with Poirier? What do you do next with Benoit Saint-Denis? That's kind of the big question here, because the title situation is a bit precarious in the sense that, Islam wants to fight. He said as much. He said he wanted to be active, but for whatever reason, Dana White continuously shelves him. And I know why, because it's for the cards that take place kind of in Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia and all these things that are up and coming. But now Poirier is free, and I don't think he took a ton of damage there, and who knows what he wants to do. But you could probably have him fight in June against Islam Makhachev for a title, which I think Islam probably wins that one. But you never know, right? Anything can happen. And then because Gaethje and Sarukian and Holloway and Charles are all busy, you have them fight afterwards in Abu Dhabi. That's the way I would make this play out. Otherwise, who else is there in the lightweight division that you'd want to see Poirier face? I mean, the only other guy that might be interesting would actually be Gamrot. I think that would be an interesting fight for Poirier as well. But that's it for me, guys. That's just my reaction to what I saw there last night. If you've made it this far, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button and the subscribe button, helps with the YouTube algorithm, helps me grow the channel. And I'll see you guys next time. And probably next video I'll make a couple more, but I'll be back in my regular home abode studio soon. Take care.